Hi, I hope you can hear me better. New microphones. So I hope that makes this program a little bit better. I really am trying to get a little bit better. And I appreciate your support. So thanks for liking, subscribing, and sharing. I finally finished the rest of the holes. I've got the tensioners in. I ended up on one of them because the C channel was just a little tight on one of them. And I tried kind of flexing it and trying to hammer it in there. It just was going to be awful. So I ended up cutting off one of the flanges, grinding it down, and then re-welding it. So it just kind of slides in there. It still will be in the appropriate place and work perfectly. Let me give you a look, and then really I need to start scrubbing it, and it's time for some primer. So that one over there with the kind of reddish oxide primer, that's the one I cut the top and re-welded. Those are all welded and in. Sorry, a little bumpy. So I got to pull it all apart, clean it, whip up some primer, shoot it. Why am I always getting hurt when the camera's on? Look at that. Just how? I guess it's time to tidy up the nursery. Hey, new day. I say hey a lot, don't I? I'm sorry. Good morning. Good morning to you guys. Uh, I've been kind of putting this off because I'm not so good at painting, but I need to get some real primer on this thing. I'm going to use an epoxy primer. Really, really durable stuff. I highly recommend it for your project, and it will help the next guy because it's a really good kind of sealing primer. And here's the product I like to use. Uh, I've been going with this Speedy Coat epoxy direct to metal DTM. I like the black. It really doesn't matter. And I mostly liked it because it has a dinosaur on it, and you probably love that too. So I'm going to go with that. This has been around for a while, this jug, so I hope it works out okay. But anyway, time to put some paint on it. So I'm pretty well set up. Got one of these little stands. I just clamp it to my table because I don't paint a lot, so I don't want it mounted and in my way. I've just my Harbor Freight cheapy gun because it's primer, and epoxy primer can be really hard to get out of the gun and clean. So then if it mucks it up, I don't have to worry about having to replace my decent gun. I could not find my paint measuring cups. That is definitely the best and easiest way to do it. So I had to look around for some other way to measure it. So I found the lid off a paint thing, made sure it was clean, and I'll use this, I think. We'll try it. So it's a 4-to-1. All right, let's give this a try. I mean, I shouldn't need a lot. We'll let that settle for a bit. I got a blob I got to pick up. Or I just dropped the whole thing in there. Then I don't have to worry about where I'm going to put it on the counter. It says I never clean up. I think that'd be plenty. So now I just need half a cup of this. It's better if you stir it up in the painting cup. But like I said, I'm struggling with that a little bit this morning. So we're just going to go for it and see what happens. It's all kind of painter going, don't do it. Gosh darn. Can't get my gloves off. You want to have a clean stir stick? Another thing I learned is make sure you check the pressure your gun's supposed to run at. It's a big deal. Okay, here we go. Okay, flipped it over. I'd painted some before I started recording, but you get the idea. And that was just those two cups of primer. Got most of it. There's a few things I'm going to have to clean up. Still waiting on the steel for that front bumper, and I realize I'll have to sand and weld that on, get all that connected. But just figured I better put at least something on there before it started to rust. So far so good, though. I'll give you a closer look. I don't think it turned out all that bad. It was a little dry going on, and I know that I was, those cheap guns you have a little trouble with adjusting, but I think that looks pretty darn good for now. Nice to see it in all one color. We'll let that cure. I need to start pressing some bearings on. Sorry, forgot, we're back. I just wanted to mention real quick that I like to drop tools, that I left this one intact. I didn't take this bearing off yet, and because I wanted to make sure I could measure and have a reference for when I pushed on the new bearings. It's probably not as big a deal with the old ones, but I also have that new axle. So I'm going to leave this until probably the last and go from there. So wish me luck. I also took some pains to measure the collar that holds the bearing to the axle shaft. I did that because I'm using a different type of bearing than they originally would have used. Although they're supposed to be the same, if they're just similar and I'm measuring to the collar, I could put that bearing off a little bit either way. So the collar's the same, and I'm going to do the same from the flange on the axle to the center of the bearing and make sure that that's the same too. So you can center it from the outside flange, which makes it a lot easier than trying to kind of figure it from the middle, if that makes any sense. The other thing you need to make sure is to put the collar on first, facing the right direction, and that you have the bearing facing the right direction so that it can capture. And you'll know because this line where the grease goes should go towards the outside flange. The other thing I don't like about these axles is that for the set screw on the collar on the bearing, there's no recess for the set screw to go into. It just clamps onto the shaft, which is probably fine, but if it has a little indentation that it can go in, it's more secure. It won't tend to slide. It'll tend to stay fixed. So I'm actually going to use my centering punch. I took the set screw out of the middle of the flange. Made a little indentation. I'm going to take it over to the drill press and just put a little nick in it right there so that the set screw has a place to go. Then if for some reason I bump or move the bearing and something isn't quite right, I always have that as a fixed position. All right, just put a little nick in it there with the drill press. Now that set screw has someplace to actually sit. And I remembered why these bearings go on so easy. They're actually, if you look at that side, it's perfectly round. And that side, see how it seems a little off? One side's thinner than the other. That's for the collar to capture, and it helps it hold it tight. It kind of binds it on there, binds it to this different size. So that's good. Learned something, remembered something. Just gonna do a quick kind of a test fit here to make sure I don't see anything glaring wrong. Cool. Not bad at all. Awesome. So that gets you caught up pretty much. Not very exciting, but I appreciate you guys subscribing, liking, and please share. Of the tens of you that are watching, not tons of you, tens of you that are watching, I really, really appreciate it. Trying to make a go of it, and any support you can give me, I really do appreciate it. A new project's going to be coming up after I finish this up. And if you're interested in buying this 6x6, throw something in the comments. I don't know what I'm going to be asking for it. I don't know what they're worth when they're refurbed like this. But anyway, let me know. Send me a thing in the comments. I'm in Colorado, so you'll need to come pick it up or arrange for somebody else to come pick it up. And the next project is a little bit more on the Ford side with a very long roof. Pretty exciting.